Hey guys, I'm Andrew McComb and welcome to Web3 TV. In today's video, I'm with Chen, the head of the Cloudtech Group, and we're going to find out what is blockchain. But before we do, make sure you register to watch every episode of Web3 TV here, where we're going to share inspiring stories of all things Web3, making a difference to the world. All sorted? Okay, let's go. Kevin, welcome to Web3 TV.
Thank you, everyone. I'm very glad here today to have the chance to share some information and knowledge about blockchain.
Well, in all of my research, I see you've been deemed one of the messiahs in the blockchain space. So it's a really good segue. What is blockchain?
Okay, so yes, I've been in the industry for quite a while, and I have a strong belief in blockchain technology. So in one sentence, to actually define blockchain, it's just an open ledger. Okay, the difference with current internet technology to a blockchain is that all these ledgers that we use in our day-to-day life, that is closed. It has to be authorized people to do records or check on it. But however, in the blockchain, that everyone shares one system, everyone, when they come to a chance that they have to be involved or they have the authority to write information on a blockchain, that everyone has the ability to do so. So it's an open ledger system.
Very nice. And so how does the blockchain fit into Web3?
Okay, basically, without blockchain, there's no Web3. All right, I'll just quickly run through Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, so people will understand what's Web 3. Okay, Web 1 is the web that the content provider providing information for people to read, right? So in a simple statement is what you see is what you get. That's Web 1. Okay, Web 2 is that, of course, you can read the information. Also, like Twitter and Facebook and blogs, that you can also react with the information that you receive from the internet. So you actually build something. And also, the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is that the information we normally get now, like the difference in between YouTube and TikTok. Right, YouTube is like you search what you want to read, or you want to listen, or you want to watch. But TikTok is like they push it to you. All right. So in a simple statement, what you're being recommended is what you get. It's Web 2. Okay. Now we come to Web 3. To have a Web 3 really up and running, to be a serious statement of Web 3, we have to solve the one problem first, which is what we call individual sovereignty. Right? Today, we don't own our own information, just like the leak on Medibank. So we don't even own our name. Right? All these government entities, big companies, they have our data. Like in the Web 2 business model, like for example, Facebook has 100 millions of users, right? That's why their market cap, their value of their company become very high because of the user volume. But however, the user volume, which means the user information and their online behaviors, it should be personal data. Right? The individuals should have their sovereignty on all these data. But we don't have it. That's why the value goes to the companies. But in Web 3, because the decentralization of the structure of the network, we can have our sovereignty on our own personal data and informations. And so in the Web 3 network, every individual become a sovereign individual. And we can do business there, and we can gather a group with people that with same belief. So that's Web 3. So in a simple statement, Web 3 is what you build is what you get.
Yeah, and Kevin, does the blockchain is essentially the open ledger of everyone participating in Web 3?
Yes. So when we talk about Web3 or Web2, okay, there's another kind of a minority of this statement, how we define Web2, okay? So basically Web1, what we call is information internet. We share information, we send emails, but however, there's a very big trouble and issue. It's like I send one letter to you through an email, I don't lose that email. I can send to millions of people if I wish to. Excuse me. Which means you cannot transfer value on the internet. So that's Web1. But once blockchain technology encounter together with the information technology together, now we can transfer my Bitcoin to you, right? It's also P2P, only you and me. There's no third party involved. But however, I can lose my things after I transfer things to you, which means Web2 become a value internet. Now we come to Web3, okay? When you talk about blockchain and Web3, okay, so blockchain, of course, it's based on decentralization, but the decentralization is based on protecting the sovereignty of individual properties and their own personal information. So, which means the fundamental of Web3 is blockchain. Of course, with the endorsement of AI, that makes more convenience. So if I would give a technical term on Web3, will be a good combination of blockchain technology and AI technology together.
Very cool. And how does it work?
Okay, how does it work? Okay, first of all, what's the ultimate format of Web3? The ultimate format of Web3 is Metaverse, which means that people will have a duplicate real world. That's one way to understand. Also, you can have an extension of real world, right? It's like the US, you cannot have it in your real visual contact with some views, but with the Metaverse, right? You can actually extend your feelings and the visions and hearings in Web3. And also, it's a good experimental field for our technology development. Let's say you want to test a nuclear plant in the real world. Lots of costs to build, risks, environmental hazards. But however, if you set up all these parameters in the Metaverse as the real world, you can do your explosion, you can do whatever in there with basically no additional cost.
So it's all virtual, and you can get all of your assessment and requirements and specifications from the test.
Yes. Basically, the three ways I mentioned is actually representing three kind of big companies in the world. Okay, let's take Facebook. They even changed their company to Meta. Their vision on Metaverse, okay, is that the Metaverse they're gonna build is an extension, also a mirror of real world, because people can create their own different personality, different appearance on the internet to talk to the friends that they never met in person. So that's from a social media company. That's their prediction on Metaverse. But on the other hand, let's see IBM and Huawei, those hardware build companies, right? They all think that the Metaverse, the best use to have experiment in the Metaverse, so we can save a lot of cost, also accelerate the research and operations efficiency. Okay, and another way to understand it is that we wanted to have Metaverse as a completely different world, so people can live differently. And that's most of the game companies that wants Metaverse to be like that.
Yeah, so it's an alternative reality that could be the same, or it could be different based on what you choose it to be for yourself.
Yeah. I haven't answered why blockchain is so important in this sort of things, right? So as I mentioned, when every individual become a sovereign individual, okay, so basically they have channels like YouTube or this TikTok. They can express themselves like a country has a sort of propaganda or media company and departments, right? Also, they have friends. They can argue. They can debate on the metaverse and internet, right? So it's more like a military force, right? And also because the blockchain, which is a decentralized, heavily encrypted technology, so it's like border protection. It can protect this person as a sovereign individual of his own assets and benefits on the cyber world. So
Yes,
that's where blockchain that become very important element of metaverse or Web3.
yeah. So you mentioned protecting the sovereign individual. Is that the biggest difference it's making to the world, do you think, or is there other benefits that's going to that will unfold because of it?
I think that's the most important one. I think the following questions that I will touch into why protecting a sovereign individual is so important. What can change the world?
Yeah. So you think that is the main benefit is the protection of the sovereign individual. So obviously with that would come transparency, more control to the sovereign individual, more freedom potentially.
Yeah. I think if you want me to touch on that, okay, that's a little bit political science. Okay. So basically, today's government or international format of group of peoples, right? We actually differentiate people by race, by nationality, right? Nationality is probably the most common one. But this sort of theory is only came after the Great Revolution of France. So what we call nationalism. Before, like, see, today's European people, they might have relatives in Italy, in Greece, in Germany. Why? It's because before French Revolution, there's no nationalism. People can travel freely. That's why the European Union, EU, has the fundamental heritage from the history and culture, so they can form into a sort of very united group. It's because people knows each other, right? They don't feel strange. However, once the nationalism occurred and developed for the last 200 to 300 years, people are so used to it. We actually differentiate us from each other, and then more trouble occurs. That's why we need to free sovereign individuals to go back to the original stage. We don't differentiate people by nationalities because, most of the side people taking all the wars happening, it's got nothing to do with normal civilians. It's only the politicians that creates fears. Someone's going to invade us. But if we don't have border, no one has border, there's nothing to invade. All we need is a police force. Right?
Yeah, just to keep the law and order, right? In that jurisdiction.
Yes. Yes.
Very cool. So obviously it's protecting the sovereign individual, but it's also creating a borderless community, essentially.
Yes. So before, protecting yourself with your own money, very hard. Very hard. Right? Let's see, we're lucky to actually live in Australia. Let's say you live in Cambodia with all governed by all warlords, right? And dictators. How are you going to protect yourself? Right? You have 1 gun or 5 guns, but they cost you and risk your life. Of course, now we merge our life from physical world to cyber world. It's very obviously how many average hours you spend on your phone, which is internet connection, compared to 10 years ago, right? It's probably increased hundreds and hundreds times. So in this case, our sovereignty is more important in cyber world. And blockchain is the technology that protects people's sovereignty. by the motivation of greedy. Because people who's in the network, let's say you have 5 Bitcoins, you will never go out and say Bitcoin is crap. You will protect its name, right? Because you have it, and you're part of the value system.
For
and
sure.
before most of the I mean, every business or country, it will actually lead to monopoly, right? Because you want to get more profit, more benefits, more control. That's very normal because that's based on centralization, right? People are greedy. We have to, everyone, including me and you, just how good we control it. But inside us, we're selfish, we're greedy. But there's no system can fix that. But now we have the solution, which is blockchain system. Why this is happening? Let's see. You have 51% of Bitcoin miner machine, which means you have the ability to change the Bitcoin ledger, that you can write everyone else's Bitcoin to your wallet, no problem, right? But there's many countries, rich people, big companies can actually buy more than 51% Bitcoin miners to do that. But why there's no one and no companies, no entities doing that yet? And I can guarantee no one will do it in the future either. Why? It's because once you invest that much money to have 51% of the Bitcoin miner, and then you change the ledger, what happens? People will like, oh, that's fine. We don't like Bitcoin anymore. You can have it all. That worth nothing. And also, it's not going to damage Bitcoin because on the page or on the block that you change the ledger, and people go like, well, let's fork it before that block, which means that it's a ledger book, right? We keep flipping pages. Now, from that page, you manipulate it. Then they go like, okay, I will tear the whole book. I will keep the first half before you make the change and stick the blank page again to the original book, which is what we call hard forking, right? So which means doing monopoly in blockchain become nonsense. It's only going to damage people's benefit. It's not going to gain more, which means the greedy you are, the more you invest into this blockchain system, the more that you're going to protect its justice, protect its transparency, protect its fairness. So I think that's an ultimate solution to actually face what we are. Right? We know communism is the worst form of a government ever. Why? Because their basic understanding is we don't have to earn our own money. Everyone has equal share, fair share on things, and working become the critical demand on every individual. Because we feel so ashamed to not work, stay at home, but getting fed and getting paid. That's not true, right? Because I'm getting the same pay, same money. Okay, I let you guys work because that's privilege. I'm a nice guy. I stay home and being lazy. So basically, communism is not a realistic political theory. That's why once you implement it, just everything goes wrong. I think the most realistic theory, according to like human behavior, is blockchain now.
So that's a good segue too, Kevin, is why do I need to know about blockchain right now? Because obviously there's been certain things occurring up until this point that kind of now makes it a necessity. What are those types of things?
Okay, why you have to know? Okay, I have some not very nice answer. Okay, you don't have to know. People don't have to know. Okay, the reason I'm saying that, let's see, people live in England 500 years ago, still under monarchy. Do they have to know computer technology according to their mindset? Right? So the things that I will put a condition in front of it. Okay, if you want to change your life, you're not happy with what you are now, and you're seeking for opportunities, seeking for answers, then you have to know about blockchain. So why do you have to know? We have to know what's the fundamental cause of all our issues in our life. what's the worst thing could happen to a person? It's being a slave of someone. That's what I consider, right? You have no freedom, and also you have to work for someone, and even you don't own yourself, you don't own your body, is, right? But however, sadly to tell everyone, we're still in a slavery world. Why? You don't even own your name, as I mentioned. You don't even own your personal data, right? You have to prove that who you are by showing people your ID, which issued by government entities or some other organizations.
Yeah, so
right?
the blockchain allows the freedom, the autonomy, the control, and it's back to the individual as opposed to the collective government or authority. Is that would that be a clear description of it?
Yeah. But we're still gonna have government, but it will be very different from today's government format, right? We need governance for sure, but we don't need governments. We need banking, but we don't need banks, right? They all are adding additional cost, and all this additional cost is because they're trying to solve a very essential problem for everyone: is the trust in between people, right? Basically, most of the administration cost in the world is to solve trust issue in between people. But as the white paper of Bitcoin, it states, blockchain is a trust machine, which built by collective consensus and distributes the power back to individuals. Current government model, doesn't matter communism or democracy or capitalism, okay? It's all, the power is actually given by the individuals in a collective way, which we call election. But however, the power is being used by minority. The collective group or the individual people have no say to it after all this election's done. So we're just running part of the show, and we just once upon a time, everyone become a main character on that electing day. That's it.
Yeah, it's very true. So yeah, we give our vote, but then once our vote's been given, we're at the beck and call of whoever's been elected to run the country or the organization or whatever, aren't we?
Yeah, because we don't have the power. We give the power away, and we don't have the ability to take it back. Because once we have to gather the whole country's people to say, okay, we wanted this prime minister to be changed, right? How much it will cost us? We don't have the distribution channels like the government does, right? That's always the way how they play people's mind. You feel like the politicians, the leaders is your choice. So once they do stupid things, please shove into your mouth because that's what you choose.
And so how will the blockchain help rectify this? When it's an open ledger, it's a lot more transparent. How is it going to help the individual, the sovereign individual, have more control, more power, more autonomy in that process?
Okay. That's a very good question. Okay. We'll come to this point. Even to this blockchain, it's not going to protect people's sovereign individual rights. Maybe protect your assets, right? You're the only one knows your private key. You can control your money. Compared to other people still have their money in their bank. Every time you send money out, they will question you. You feel like that's not my money anymore, right? But blockchain has a very fundamental structure has to be built. It's what we call decentralized storage. Today's blockchain only can store a few megabytes of data, which is the ledger data. But our video files, all these articles, all these things that we see on the internet, it's now still in the centralized IDCs, which means our data is owned by the company, either be Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud, right? So they can stop you visiting it. You don't even own your account because they can stop it anytime to access your own things. So the fundamental infrastructure of blockchain yet to be built is a decentralized storage system. So imagine all this service is on a decentralized storage system, which is in your router at home, or in my router at home, in everyone else's, because this actually generates some income for us to pay internet fees, right? We don't care what data is in there, but we like this system because they bring benefits. But also now all our data we stored on the cyber world no longer belong to the government or belongs to the big companies, then belongs to most of the individuals. And the individuals, they can't see it because it's all encrypted. So they only provide a storage, but the access key is still in the person who owns those data. All right. So once we have that, sovereign individual rights are protected on the cyber world. Otherwise, it's not happening.
And how secure is the blockchain so that there's no identity theft or fraud or things like that occurring?
The security of blockchain is actually much better than the current computer system. That's why, Australian Stock Exchange they're trying very hard, spend 206 million to actually replace their clearance system with blockchain.
So they are starting to adopt it as a more secure option for people.
They already took 6 years, but they failed. Spent 260 million. I don't know how that happens. I couldn't get it done for a quarter of the money.
And they failed. Interesting, isn't it? So just
because after all, they found implementing a blockchain system to their company is actually taking away their benefits, because all the ledgers has to be transparent. How are they going to use the cash pool that people put into the platform? That's why banks hate blockchain, right? We put our money into the bank, right? Especially our day-to-day account. We don't get any interest. We still get charged by the banks, but they still use our money, right? They will lend it to someone else and to make profit. But imagine a banking system using blockchain. How much funds in that bank's reserve? It's obviously there, right? They cannot steal the money to lend to someone else, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's the reason it didn't go through. It's not a technical problem. It's like touching so many people's benefit.
Absolutely. What are some of the compliance requirements around blockchain in Australia? How do they look?
In Australia, there's a very decent regulations already. Okay, so they will consider blockchain assets another four-member assets. So if you let's say you bought Bitcoin in a low price, you sold it in a higher price, they will actually charge you for capital gain taxes. Okay, well, I think in a common law system, the most important thing is to give the new things a definition and a category, because all this law is already there. You just have to fit them into a certain category and being governed by this existing law. Maybe there's a little addition to audit. Blockchain is not a monster, all right? It's probably much easier for tracking down. Let's see, someone steal your money from your blockchain wallet, you report to the police, right? The money transaction route, you actually see it through. You don't have to go like, oh, I have to talk to the bank. Here's my police statement. I need to check the transaction history. Also, the bank has to, can you talk to another bank where the money finally went, right? That's a long process. That's a high cost, especially to individual people who had this sort of tragedy happen, got your money stolen. You don't have that time and that money to retrieve it. But in a blockchain, all you have to do is open the blockchain scanner, put in your address, finding that transaction, then follow that transaction. You'll find, until whatever the final destination is. So it's actually much more secure.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's more protected, more private, more secure, but it's also more transparent in the fact that if you do need to trace something, you can do that. And I guess that's why there is resistance to it because some people don't want to be traced, do they?
Well, the major difference is that for a blockchain account, you don't have to do KYC on it, which means you can see how much money in that wallet. Let's say 500 Bitcoin or 1 million Bitcoin. That's Satoshi's wallet, right? We know that's Satoshi's because he's the first one that created that wallet. But everyone else, you can see how much money is in their account, but you will never know who the person is. Unless this person like to say that's my wallet. Like most of the big exchanges, they will have the reserve wallet there and named it. This is Binance wallet, this is a Coinbase wallet, because they want to show people, yes, we have the funds there to give people more certainty and safety feeling. So which means that actually protects your privacy unless you wanted to expose yourself. And plus there's ring signature technology, which means you cannot even trace the sending routes. Also, there's a zero knowledge proof technology, which means you can sending your funds out in a normal, in a private way. People don't know where this address is sending from.
Wow, so much to unpack here, Kevin. Is they call you the Messiah, I call you the doyen of the blockchain. Guys, if you're interested in more from Kevin, we put together a more in-depth frequently asked questions video, which we'll put the link here for you. We'd love you to watch that as well and get some more information, especially if you're new to this space. It'll help you overcome a lot of your questions, or at least get a lot of your questions answered. Kevin, thanks for sharing your wisdom. Mate, let's join everyone in the next video.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Web3 TV episode. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. And remember, if you'd like to watch every episode of Web3 TV, visit the link below or subscribe to our channel. And remember to hit the bell icon so that we can notify you every time a new episode is released. I'm Andrew McComb, and I look forward to sharing more inspiring Web3 TV episodes, making a difference to the world. I'll see you soon.